Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nikki and I am the Managing Director of Ingenious Personnel, which is a recruitment agency. If this is your very first time on our platform, this is where we talk about recruitment, we talk about how to get employed, we talk about everything that has to do with careers. And if that is a topic that you do like and enjoy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content should you find value in it. So on today's topic, we are going to talk about the 4 things that can make your interview unsuccessful. Let's get to it. My very first tip is a tip that's going to sound like a duh, I know that. It is, you do not want to walk in an interview chewing bubblegum. Whether that's bubblegum, whether that's a sweet, you do not want to walk in an interview with anything in your mouth, because this is a big distraction to the interviewers. Not only is this a big distraction to the interviewers, it also makes you look bad. It doesn't make you look good if you're sitting in an interview and you're chewing in your mouth constantly. So the very first tip that you do not want to do, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, is you do not want to chew in an interview. That is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is you do not want to slouch when you're sitting. So slouching is, you're sitting in a chair, but you're sitting like this or you're sitting like that. That's slouching. You do not want to slouch in an interview, because that, again, it shows that you are uninterested. You really don't want to be here. You don't care about this interview. You're not taking this seriously. You want to sit up straight in an interview. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3, when you are asked a question in an interview, stick to what you are asked. You do not want to ramble and answer questions that were not asked in an interview, or give answers that are irrelevant to the question that has been asked by the interviewer. So you stick to the question that has been asked. If you do not understand the question that is being asked in an interview, you always want to ask the interviewer to rephrase the question differently. The last thing that you want to do is to answer a question that you do not understand. Therefore, you answer a question that it wasn't asked. You're giving irrelevant answers or incorrect answers. So you do not want to ramble your answers. You want to stick to the question that is being asked, and you want to answer the question that is being asked. That is tip number 3. Tip number 4, you also don't want to talk about a question. For instance, you don't want to give answers that have not been asked. Answer questions that have not been asked. For instance, what I mean by that is, if the interviewer asked you a question, doesn't matter what question, and you answer by saying, thank you for your question. Before I answer your question, I just want to say, that wasn't asked. Stick to what is being asked. Stick to the questions that are being asked. Unless the question is then asked, then you can answer. You don't want to answer your own, or you don't want to give your own answers that have not been asked in an interview. So that is tip number 4. So tip number 5, which is my last tip of this video. I always say this, guys. At the end of the interview, you must have questions to ask. Now, when you ask these questions, do not use these questions as a way to elaborate your answers or as a way to sell yourself even more. What I mean is this. If you ask a question and the interviewer answers that question, you don't want to elaborate on that answer and say, oh yes, I also possess so and so skills, just to add on to what you said. I've got exactly what you're looking for, and add on to what the interviewer has. You don't want to do that. You want to agree, but you don't want to add on and use that as an opportunity to sell yourself even more, because you have already done that in the interview, and you do not want to come across as desperate for the position. Because if you're going to sell yourself even more in the interview, you're going to come across as desperate for the position. We don't want to come across as desperate. We want to come across as confident and not desperate. So that is my 5 tips for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. I will see you next week on our next content. I do try and post on a weekly basis. And if this is a content that you do like, and if you have enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content should you find any value in it. Thank you for your time, and please do stay safe.